Ho, aka Patters, what's happening? Welcome to, oh my god, a late episode of WILDSTORM Wednesday. But if you're new to this channel, Peter A. DeLuca here, aka Pad69. And on this channel, every single Tuesday, we do Top Cal Tuesday, every single Wednesday. Today, we do WILDSTORM Wednesday. And what is WILDSTORM? WILDSTORM Productions, Jim Lee, the company that stemmed out of X-Men #1. The highest, the greatest, the most moneyest making comic book of all time. We get into all the work of WILDSTORM Productions, the WILDSTORM universe. And today we're getting into crossover. We've been doing a lot of crossovers because still at this time, WILDSTORM Productions is sharing characters, talent, studio space, resources with Mark Silvestri's Top Cal Productions. Eventually, these two companies will depart. One gets an animated series, one nearly gets an animated series, as previously highlighted on this channel. The two companies, they're friends, but they're also competitors. But here, well, let's share our Wolverine analogs, Ripclaw and Warblade, in which we have right here. Endangered species. The humans are the endangered species in this miniseries, by the way. But we got like a stack of books. Look at this. See, this is how you do a crossover. Crossover to get people excited. I need to show you this cover. Look at that. Like, this is how we get people excited. This is how you built excitement for a book in the 90s. And we have this character here, Misery. Misery is somewhat, she's the connective tissue of these two fellows, Ripclaw and Warblade. We're going to do a future episode where we get a little deeper, that's what she said, into Misery, because I think she's a great character. I think she's a wonderful Jean Grey analog or Jean Grey wannabe character. But hey, she's connected to cyber data, our encompassing bad guys. But in this miniseries, we have the Demonites. This is a WILDSTORM production, not a Top Cal production, which is why it falls on WILDSTORM Wednesdays. 4 issues, Scott Clark, Steven Seagal. But today, 4 issues, WILDSTORM Productions, another crossover. But come on, guys, we do love Warblade. We do love Ripclaw. Can we get into a little bit of the past of Warblade? How does he forget things? What happened to him? Can we get a little bit deeper into the Native American guts of Ripclaw? And hey, what about some of their other friends from the cyber data days? You know, we saw them in Cyberforce issue 0. Guys, as always, we have a stack of comics to set this up. So let's hit that drawing table. It's WILDSTORM Wednesday. Let's go. Welcome to Endangered Species, my AKA Patters. From the intro, let's just show this off. We have to keep in mind too, there's a lot cooking at this time. I'm not just talking about in this book, because I really feel like we're looking at 2 issues worth of content. Scott Clark, R.I.P. He goes on the run in this book. We open with a, you know, not quite Scott Clark-ish issue 1, meaning the time, the effort, but it kind of goes downhill. And it goes downhill. We're potentially working with 3/4 pages. We're working with very fast layouts. The action's not quite there. All of this stuff. But the whole story basically involves these 2 guys getting pit against one another. Now, this time, through Pillar. This is our villain. And Pillar, he's a part of this, like, break-off of the Demonites. And who are the Demonites? What do the Demonites do? And the Demonites just want world domination. They're right here. The Wildcats, and this is why this is a WILDSTORM book. The Wildcats, they have a century-long war with the Demonites. It's come to Earth. And the Demonites, as said in this book, time and time again, cannot conquer Earth. And now they're in the age of like mutants and superheroes and again, Cyber Data and Jacob Marlowe's Halo Corporation and all these other efforts, right? But there's fractions within the Demon Knights, and we get into some interesting ideas. We get into that we can fake being a Demon Knight undetected, kind of. And the soul of the person that the Demon Knights take possession of, like the host, the soul of the host can affect the Demon Knight. So the two are like in conflict. And what these 4 issues establish when it comes to Demon Knight lore, it's very, very simple. If the host can overpower the Demon Knight and become a different person. And that's what happens with Pillar here. And again, that's why this is a little bit important. We don't get into anything with Misery other than a complete shocker. Misery and Ripclaw had a baby in kind of what we call Killer Instinct. Right here. Killer Instinct, which was a giant tour. They went all over the country. I think they did 2 legs of this tour. But this is the Killer Instinct tour book. We can just kind of get into, right? Killer Instinct Part 2, Killer Instinct Part 4, Gold Edition. We've been featuring Killer Instinct so much on these videos. Misery, by the way, she comes back in Cyberforce 24, and look how nice that looks. Like I said, she's a great character, great Jean Grey analog, really. I always comment on, I love the teal highlights here, the green highlights for her hair. And she gets a one-shot. I don't have the Top Cow one-shot, but we're going to do a Misery featured episode that's Misery's entire arc. So that's coming up. Killer Instinct crosses over between Wildcats and Cyberforce. But in these, somewhere in these pages, we talk about Ripclaw having her baby. Like, they have a baby. Kinda. And we learned that in the first few pages. Guys, full disclosure, I missed, when I read these, I missed that detail. So, again, we try and be as transparent as possible with our reviews. So, what's Pillar doing? Pillar needs to break off his Demon Knight friends. They're a fraction, and they need to get like 3 pieces of a power suit. And this power suit is just going to be able to decimate everything. He wants to take over Brazil. His friends, once they get the suits, wants to take over everything. But he's like, can we just start with Brazil? Literally, that's a conversation that they have. Pillar is linked to Warblade. And that's kind of where we open things up. Before we get into this, I just want to say, like, I need the other cover here. Where's this one? Issue 4 cover. Fantastic, by the way. We already talked about the declining artwork in this. I don't want to harp on it. I'm going to point some things out. But the setup for this, I need to compare this to Kindred. That is Backlash and Grifter for how WILDSTORM in continuity handled Kindred. Why? Because this is confusing in where exactly it lies in Wildcats and in Cyberforce. When it comes to continuity, we need to know where this lies. So, for example, if you're reading Wildcats 9, 12, 11, 10, 13, the Huntsman saga, Grifter's not there because Grifter in issue 8, he leaves. Now, he does show up at the end, right? He shows up at the end of 12, and we have him on the cover of 13. But Grifter leaves Zila here after making out with her to jump on a adventure with Backlash, where they're kind of not friends, but they're kind of friends. Maybe they're later going to become friends. And this is after Backlash leaves Stormwatch, not with this issue. I just love this cover. But Backlash leaves Stormwatch because his babe gets possessed with a Demon Knight, and she's in a coma, and he needs to track down the Demon Knight that has her soul in it. It's complicated, but not really. So Kindred, like, right? So we get issues of Stormwatch without Backlash, and we get issues of Wildcats without Grifter, and it's all explained here, right? So we really don't quite get that at all, because we get Warblade in issues of Wildcats, and we get like Ripclaw in issues like we're at Cyberforce 11 in issues of Cyberforce. So we know this takes place after Killer Instinct. That's it. Now, some of you continuity super freaks out there may have charted this. You guys may have found where to place endangered species in the overall timeline. And one final note, before we get into this and our Misery Girl, if we go into Cyberforce 0, we get an introduction to a little bit of the relationships. We get Misery as a part of a Shock. She's working for Cyberdata. The evil guys have put microchips in the Shock's heads, like Killjoy, to control them. But they're sociopaths anyway. They probably don't even need the chip. But she can kind of get into the minds of individuals. And we just learn that, you know, Warblade was a part of Cyberdata. Warblade also was a part of, like, kind of like a precursor to Cyberforce. And Misery was around Warblade. So Misery has a history with Warblade as much as she has a history with Ripclaw, enough of which she makes a baby. So this, another giant point of this book is that Ripclaw and Warblade just, they need to become friends. They need to become friends. I know I said in the intro that these are maybe potentially the two most popular characters within both companies. And you might say, well, what about Grifter? Let me just point out one point with Warblade real quick. It's this ad right here. Cutting edge action figure. I'm long critical for the Wildstorm books of not properly promoting the Playmates action figure line and the cartoon series. I don't know why the cartoon series doesn't get more real estate within the comic, because it's the biggest thing that could be going on ever in the company, and technically it was. Grifter spinning off into his own one-shot, later to get his own series, popularity, right? I put that in quotes. But the selling feature of a lot of the toys is Warblade here. And I think there's a reason. He's more toyetic, as they like to say it. His colors pop. He looks a little bit more of the time, meaning he's aggressive, he's cybernetic, he has that giant green ponytail, he has the cabling, but he just fits. And when it comes to selling the toy line, Warblade is a much better face than Grifter. Grifter is to carry on. He is to become technically the most focused character in Wildstorm history. But during this time, yeah, Warblade was a mysterious character. We all know too much about his past. We're going to find that out. We're going to get a little bit deeper into the Native American world of Ripclaw, which also complements issue 8 of Stormwatch, where we get into the nation of Ripclaw. We get into the laws of the Native American world, how it incorporates into the U.S., into the UN, and into the powers of Stormwatch, all within this issue. We also introduce Rainmaker, who later becomes a member of Gen 13, and AKAPAD. This is also the issue that Backlash leaves the team. He leaves at 8, but I can't show you this cover. That's why we show you the issue 5 cover. But we get into the world of Ripclaw here, and we get into a little more into the world of Ripclaw. And Ripclaw is fantastic because whenever he's touched by the Caucasians of the American comic book industry, dude, they put a lot of Native American into the Native American character. They make him interesting. He's interesting for it. You want to read more, and you want more. So Ripclaw also gets his own special. He gets his own series. I believe it goes for 6 issues. We'll feature that. And that's all just about where Ripclaw dies. He dies within his own monthly book. Overexposure, maybe not. So, since I already told you basically what the whole story was, I think we're going to go in a different order. We're not just going to go in sequence, but I do want to highlight a couple things in every single issue. All right, issue 4. Issue 4, we wrap it up. Warblade is about to kill Pillar because Pillar, he's been playing both sides, triple sides. He's just been annoying everyone. He walks away to what looks like to be a naked. It's just naked, right? He's naked. No, not really. He just doesn't have any design whatsoever. Starting out, so that's how we wrap it up. Starting out though, you know, we're in Japan. Warblade kind of uses this excuse with the other Wildcatters. He goes, "Hey, I'd like to go to Japan and practice kendo sticking because they kendo back fight." And he goes, "It's something that's a tradition I would like to maintain." So here we see Pillar. So Pillar, he's only lost a couple times in a lot of years. Warblade gives him his 7th defeat, and the dude, you know, breezes off in a nice hot car. We get to the reservation. We get to Ripclaw's territory. We get some bad dudes shooting birds. Gentlemen, I'll say we have our working prototype. Let's set up a buy with Pillar. Okay, but they're shooting birds. We don't like that. We don't like people shooting. Come on. That's like shooting America right there. We don't do that. And there's something really intense about snuffing out something so scarce. Like, come on. So Warblade's in his, like, you know, his Native American, his spirit journey. He's just doing things. He's just throwing feathers and throwing some sticks and throwing some, like, rocks and incense. And he's a hippie. Warblade relatively is a hippie. But along the way, he gets a vision of this boy that he knows. He gets attacked by a shagwire, fights the shagwire. And guys, if you haven't been able to tell, we're not getting. This is where we kind of have to come in. And where is our credits? We have to give a little bit of heat to our names. Okay, WILDSTORM Productions. These guys right here. They're using their platform to give a writer that needs more time. He needs more space, and I get it. They're using backup stories or trying to do anthologies to build up talent. But they're too big of a platform because if you haven't noticed, we don't get a lot of captions here. Not a lot of description, not a lot of good takeaways. That's why every single issue here is a quick read. I believe it was a quicker illustration, good pose here by Scott Clark. But it's quick. Everything's about this is quick. Drawing is quick. Everything's quick. So we get the Pillar. Pillar goes to get the weapon. He coats himself. He basically beats everyone's butt. Warblade catches up to him. Ripclaw finds that there's like these Native American boys, and they get paid money to go work at construction sites, but they kind of sort of disappear. So Warblade just has this whole conversation too with the shaman. I'm not sure what this triangle is. The dude's name is Grey Wolf, but he has this conversation, and it's just like this. You know, I am very old Bear Claw. You should use tomorrow to ask that question of the young. So he goes to track down the boy, and they all get shipped away. They all get, you know. So we got 2 separate arm deals. We have Pillar here buying the armor. Then we have Warblade, who's eventually going to run into these guys, selling weapons, paying boys to help him. And he gets darted, which is, guys, wrestling psychology. Too many darts in this issue, by the way. Way too many darts. 1 dart's too many. We get more darts throughout this series. But the wrestling psychology, we can't take out Ripclaw with a dart and have him being drug away. This diminishes the coolness and the power of Ripclaw. Warblade hiding in the, tracking down Pillar in the shadows, had a little bit of a flashback during the Cyber Data days where Pillar still has no character design. But yeah, Pillar and Warblade fight Demon Knights, and we learn of the splitting fraction within the Demon Knight army, the Demon Knight War. Pillar just ties a rope around his waist and gets towed away, I guess. And yeah, we're back on the reservation. Warblade here gets a little bit more info from, some of the inner workings. We would assume these guys are from IO. No caption here to kind of dictate that. And basically, it's like, hey, Warblade, can you pretend to be like a Demon Knight host so we can infiltrate these guys for this arms deal? And the back of the truck opens, and it's Ripclaw. So here we go, guys. The cover for issue 2 lives up to the hype. Now, we're also dealing with a big production leap. If you guys can see this paper, it's a little bit reflective, right? It looks nice. It looks good. We get into issue 2. We're kind of on the newsprint now. Thinner, lighter, effective, but cheaper. So Jim Lee's already cutting corners. Cheers to that. I love it when books open with a 9-panel grid. We turn the page and we see the guys getting at it. Scott Clark here does not feel like drawing a fist at all. Very similar. Scott Clark's eye is a little bit off. When we get this, where is it? This handshake. Where is it? Where is it? Is it issue 3? Guys, I don't care for just look. We're back here with the nice paper. So maybe this is new stained. I might be mistaken. This is new stained. I take that back. This later becomes a dominant for Wildstorm proper. But we get this, where's this handshake at? Here it is, right here. See, so we're kind of out of perspective because in issue 3, Ripclaw meets Skinner, who skins Demon Knights, but they fight and they become friends. But look at that hand. Trouble. Like that, like that hand needs to be like a lot. I mean, that hand needs to be like here, right? And we got the forearm here, bicep there, and we can keep the shoulder. That hand needs to be a lot bigger, but they become friends. Whatever. Here, I mean, can we fix this? Yeah, I mean, we just go right in here. That's all you gotta do. And we kind of always the middle, not the middle finger. The ring finger, the pointer finger gets popped out a little bit more. And I would put some like striations here and some kind of cool veins right there. Like that, that's how we fix things, guys. So I apologize. This is the new Stain edition effective. They fight, they battle. We have a very economic panel here. Bad silhouette, bad pose. Wonderful airbrushed skyline here. And they fight, and Warblade just uses his hands, makes a mallet, beats them. They crash into the building. Warblade jumps through the window. You are dead, human meat, because he's talking as if he's a Demon Knight. He's tricked everyone. Now, given these first couple pages, it's basically like, hey, they don't detect the Demon Knight because I told them I was possessed earlier, and the scanners don't pick it. They don't pick it up, or whatever. Warblade just basically tells other Demon Knights he's a Demon Knight, and we all go with it. But he kicks right through this window here. I mean, see, Warblade stumbles. Ripclaw stumbles out, bloody, and Warblade's like, Ripclaw is dead. He's like, Ripclaw's dead. No one verifies. And then Ripclaw jumps up, and they tricked everyone. And now they have Pillar, and they're killing more Demon Knights. And Pillar's like, hey, guys, remember both sides? So Pillar's like, hey, we have to stop these 3 weapons coming together. You go here, and you go there. So Ware does. And then Pillar ends up in Brazil, where he talks to the other Demon Knights in a Shagwire. And they, this is the armor, guys. This is what everyone's fighting for. It's like a chest bump thing. We get a little bit of a hint of it on issue 4, like here. It's just like a chest thing, and it can just like shoot lasers and stuff and eliminate people. They killed this girl, and this dude's like, yo, that girl was mine. I liked her. And he's like, you know what? I don't know. Whatever. So he takes the thing off for him. The Shagwire eats him. which we don't get much of right there. And then, we cut away to a spiritual journey with the Shagwire. Ripclaw runs into Skinner, who, because that's where Pillar sends him. So let's just get to issue 3. Okay, so now Pillar here and his friends, they're all like naked, glowing with weird armor. Again, guys, right here, hint, we have to sell the toys. A Zealot can help sell the toys. And Warblade goes to where Pillar sends him, which is the house when he was a kid, and there were nuns, and the Coda show up, and they kill everyone, and they spare the boy, but somehow Pillar gets the girls to show up to fight Warblade, and Warblade just trashes everyone, just kills them all. He throws this girl through the door, and then he goes to escape here, and guys, we need better panels, but the last one's running after him, and he uses the thrusters, and he smokes her, and he goes, that's satisfying. And then we're back at Skinner's house, guys, like Skinner, who shows up at the end of issue 2. Oh, by the way, guys, the real Savage Dragon 13, because Jim Lee interrupted the run of Eric Larson's Savage Dragon. So there's 2 Savage Dragon 13s for anyone out there if you're into Image Eczema. But here we go. We get Skinner, and we learned that he skins Demonites, and they're not friends, but they later become friends thanks to the handshake. And he goes, well, sorry about beating you up, but let's go. So now we're back in Brazil. Everybody wants to conquer the world. Pillar's like, can we just conquer Brazil? Please. They're all naked and glowing. They all look the same. Warblade, Ripclaw catches up to them. I'm not joking when I say naked and glowing. They catch up, and guess what? They're fighting, and they fight everyone. Now, with Pillar, they fight the other fraction of Demonites. So much so. I mean, and I'll just show you guys some of the quick artwork. But they fight. We got more darts. Too many darts in these 4 issues. Warblade does his work. Ripclaw does his. And we end up, essentially, with everyone against Pillar. And Pillar's like, guys, I changed my ways because the host of the person I took over was a good person, and I want things to be done in a particular way. The way that this fraction wanted to dominate Earth, it's a no-go. I'm not against dominating Earth, but I want to do it the right way. So they let him walk off. Ripclaw has he leads the boy into his spiritual journey into the TP with Grey Wolf. Warblade shows back up in Japan that we saw in issue 1, and he goes, look, dude, I'm sorry. When I was last here for our kendo fight battle, when I was last here, aka issue 1, it was for selfish reasons, because I was following this Pillar guy. I was following him, and I'm sorry. And basically his sensei's like, yeah, okay, apology accepted, but not really. And then we get back to the boy kind of inside the cave, inside the spirit journey, and we see that he meets another Shagwire, and they walk down the trail. So we get and there we go, everyone. Welcome to Warblade, Endangered Species.